Hey guys, this is Robert Ness 816 and today we have a repair video with my Model 1 Sega CD. So this is actually another Model 1 Sega CD that I have. I have two of them. In a previous video on my other console I replaced the capacitors on that. On this one it turns out I didn't do such a good job of making sure everything worked on it because honestly this is the first time that I really had to dig into a CD-ROM drive. So I've kind of been learning as I've been going along with this particular console. It's pretty cool because it has a lot of parts in it that you can service and take apart, which you don't have in the newer ones. So I guess as far as learning how to fix CD-ROM drives and stuff, this one's definitely been serving a good purpose as far as that. So quickly going over what I've had to do to this one. I've taken this one apart. Let's see, how many times? 5 times now. So the first time was to clean it up. The second time was to replace the belt in it after I realized that was the issue. So that was the one that I learned on. Then after that, I got another Sega CD Model 1, which I cannibalized for parts. I used the top shell, the front panel, and the side panel to basically make this one look better aesthetically. And then the fourth time was to fix something that I thought was caused by the little adjustment slider on top of the laser on the little gear rail thing that I'm going to call it. I really don't know what it's called, but yeah, so I adjusted that thinking that was the issue as to why this was making a noise when the lens would travel back to its limit, which I thought was going all the way out, but it turns out the lens was going all the way in and making that noise. So the real issue was actually caused by a limiter switch that was just dirty. So you have to take into consideration too, this stuff is old. It's used with soft metal, and soft metal oftentimes will get tarnished on it and stuff. So always good to check over everything. So this is why these systems do have a bad reputation, because there is a lot of little parts inside that can give you problems as they age. So yeah, that's actually another reason why I don't like paying top dollar for any older CD-based consoles, because they're just, I don't know, it's a rare system kind of, but at the same time it's also a headache. So it's something that you have to make sure that every little aspect of it is perfect. Otherwise, you're going to wind up taking it apart like I did, a bunch of times. So yeah, hopefully, someone can learn from this. So Model 1 Sega CD repair take 2. So this Sega CD I took apart once before because it was making a funny gear grinding noise, which I thought was because the adjustment rail on it wasn't set properly. I'll show you that later. But this right here is a little stop switch, and this prevents the lens from going back too far. And when this doesn't make good contact, the lens will keep trying to go back, and the laser head or whatever will actually smash into the back part of the disk drive, which is right here. Yeah, this part right here. So yeah, it makes all sorts of bad noises when it happens, and of course it was making contact, but just poor contact. So once it would smash against it, it would actually stop instead of gently stopping. So yeah, clean this up with first using tuner cleaner, which kind of worked. You can see that. Can't take this switch apart, unfortunately. If it'll focus that close, might not. You really can't take the switch apart because it has like a little plastic hinge that it rides on. There we go. So you see that little divot right there, it's a little hinge. So you can't really take this switch apart, because otherwise I would have. So what I did was I soaked it upside down in 91% rubbing alcohol for a little bit. And then I blew it out, and then I sprayed the crap out of it with tuner cleaner, and then blew it out, and then dunked it again in 91% rubbing alcohol, and then blew it out. So hopefully it's spotless. I tested it with an ohm meter, and instead of barely making contact, it now makes contact at the slightest touch, so that's good. So pop it back in, and I'll show you the rest. So where is it on this board? So you see right there, that's where it gets soldered back into. So I'm going to resolder this thing, and pray to God that it works. I also did something stupid where I had the laser lens near the magnetic hold down. So really hope I didn't mess up the laser. Let's resolder this stupid thing. That's where the switch goes, and when the lens goes all the way back, it touches the switch, and that tells the motor to turn off. So I just have to resolder those two little tabs there, and we'll be back in a jiff. Okay, so as I smashed that into my camera or cell phone, so the soldering job is all done. If my stupid ass phone will focus on it. This is the joys of trying to do a video with a cell phone, not as good as my point and shoot. There we go. So yeah, soldering job is all done. Looks all nice and purty. So let's take this stupid thing back upstairs and see if it works. Okay, so I know you guys can probably barely see this, but this is what I have here. So that's the lens, and I had the lens next to this very strong magnetic piece, and this actually clamps down on a disc when the drive motor gets raised up. So it is pretty darn powerful, as you can see, and I had it next to that laser, so I really have no idea if a magnet will mess with the laser or any of the components that are on it, since, you know, I know how sensitive this stuff is, but I did that without realizing it. Possibly it's okay because it was resting on this piece here, which is kind of sort of shielded. Well, not really, it's actually magnetic too. So anyway, I could be fucked. Really hope I'm not, but yeah. So let's throw this stupid thing back together and cross our fingers, or my fingers anyways. Lots of little pieces here and stuff. So when it goes back all the way, it hits it like that. And that tells the motor to stop going. You see it moving? So hopefully it's fixed. Something to make note of is to use literally a very small amount of grease. So I just dab the tiniest amount on the pinion here and then work it around. Never ever ever over grease any of this stuff, only because there's a risk always that the grease can land on top of that laser lens, which will pretty much render it useless. So don't ever over grease these things. Very small little amounts. Of course, grease the shaft here where this gear fits onto. And I'm just using like a little prick on the tip of my flathead screwdriver just to put a small amount of grease on there. But yeah, just tiny little amounts on the gears. So if you can see that, this goddamn thing will focus. There we go. So that's it. Just little teeny tiny blobs of grease. And you can see how I put just little small amounts on the pinion gears, always on the smaller gears. This way when they spin, it'll distribute the grease to the larger gear evenly. Okay, so the drive is all reassembled, and I'll walk into the light now so you can see it. Doing all of this right now on my coffee table, so everything is put back together. Little tiny little bits of grease, like I said before, and really just not that difficult, because this stuff is actually cool because it's made to be worked on. When tightening up these little screws here for the suspension bracket, do not over tighten them. I mean, they are really really tiny, so over tightening them, you'll either mess up this bracket here, which you cannot get, these posts which you cannot get, or those screws which you can get, but if you break the threads off in that post, then yeah, good luck with that. So that's pretty much it. And there's your little ribbon cable there for the laser, blah, 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 blah. Watch your capacitors so you don't mess anything up. Oh yeah, this right here. This little piece right here with the spring on it, that keeps tension on this idler gear here so that it, I guess has less play in it. I guess that's its purpose. I adjusted it so that it is approximately 1 tooth off from the bottom row of gears. So you can see that. Kinda, not really, but yeah. Alright, so the laser assembly is all back together. The drive is pretty much done. The only thing I have to do now is just slide the drawer back in, and after that it'll be good to go. Alright, so the Sega CD is all back together again. I just have to put on the RF shielding for the disk drive and throw it back together and cross my fingers and hope that it still works. Okay guys, so we're going to demonstrate Samurai Showdown. So I had this running last night for about a half hour. It seemed like it was alright. So I'll play it for a little bit so you can hear what it sounds like now. So this is, in my opinion, what a properly functioning Sega CD Model 1 should sound like with the Sony CD-ROM drive. So if you have a JVC version, it's going to sound different. So we'll just flip it on here. And you guys should hear what it sounds like. So I'm not going to play any sound, obviously. I'm just going to let you guys listen to what the disk drive sounds like. So... And I love how the light makes everything look super dusty. No idea how to clean that off, but whatever. Unless it's wear. Who knows what the hell it is. Who cares? Alright, so we'll just press start. So I'm going to put this next to it so you can hear what it sounds like. Seems like it's working to me. Alright, so that's it, guys. That's what I think, anyway, a properly functioning Model 1 Sega CD should sound like with the Sony drive. So, very cool.